Hi gang, Dan-raine here, and a big welcome to day one of the 30-day challenge. I hope you've enjoyed pre-season so far, and I just want to say a big thank you to all the team who've made that possible, from the people who've actually made the videos to all the behind-the-scenes people who've produced them, uploaded them, sorted out the website, and of course to all the forum moderators who've been helping out. Thanks guys, really much appreciated. So to get you started, my videos for today are all about coming up with ideas for your very first niche. Now, don't panic. I've put together some great videos in the training center, and also I wrote a couple of documents which kind of show sort of the thought processes I go through when I'm trying to find a new idea. So they should be there right below this, and go and have a look at these once you've watched the video. Now, one of the things you're going to need also is one of these. It's a notebook. And seriously guys, I always recommend carrying one around. Whenever you're out or hanging out with friends, it's amazing. An idea might just pop in your head, and I guarantee if you actually don't write it down that very moment, by the time you get home, it's gone completely. And it could have been a $10,000 a month niche. So always carry a notebook. I mean, I carry one all the time, and I also use one. I definitely recommend you having one right next to your computer and writing your ideas in that instead of typing them on the computer. Because, you know, in 30 days time, once you've been through the whole challenge process and you've made your first dollar online, you can go back through the notebook and go, oh, that's a great idea. Seriously, no matter how stupid the idea is, just write it down. Always write it down. Now, coming up with an idea for your very first niche doesn't have to be a painful process. In fact, I enjoy brainstorming ideas and looking at different magazines and just browsing around the internet and seeing what other people are interested in. But if this is your very first 30-day challenge, then I really recommend that you look at something that you're interested in, you're passionate about already. So maybe it's a hobby or a skill you have. Have a look at those and, you know, see if there's some like sub-niche in that niche you can actually, you know, exploit and use this year. And the reason I say this is because the 30-day challenge process, during it you'll be writing articles and maybe doing a video, and you'll definitely put up a blog on the internet. And if you're passionate about the subject, then it always makes the whole process go a lot smoother. Now, don't be wrong, it's not compulsory. If you want to branch off into something else, or you've thought of an idea which is completely different, or, you know, you just want to separate yourself from the two, then cool, go, you know, and do the research and find something else. It's just that if you, you know, if you're passionate about it already, then it's probably a good place for you to actually start and, you know, start looking for a niche in that market. Now, I have to show you this. One sec. This is a magazine I found while browsing a store recently. I'm not sure if you can see this. It's Classic Plant and Machinery. And literally, this whole magazine is about antique JCBs and cranes and diggers. And, you know, I was quite amazed that it even existed, you know, because to be quite honest, I, you know, would have never dreamed in 1,000 years that this was actually a niche. But what was really interesting, and this is something you guys should look at, is when you're browsing magazines, it's not just the topic of the magazine, it's what people are actually selling in the magazines. And in this one, as an example, it's Massive Earth Moving Machines DVDs. I mean, literally, this is 3 DVDs just full of video footage of antique heavy equipment. You know, from my point of view, totally boring, but to somebody else, it's a niche. And, you know, coming up with ideas like this, finding things like this is, you know, it's a revelation to me even in this market. But, you know, when you actually go to a store and you have a look at the different magazines, you'll realize just how many niches are out there. And if there's guaranteed, if there's a magazine about it, there's a market. And one key thing is, and this is something I really want to cover this year, is the difference between a niche and a micro niche. For this year's 30-day challenge, we want you to focus on something that we call a micro niche. Now, a micro niche is essentially a niche in a niche. And the reason we want you to do this is because we want you to see the whole process all the way through, right from the very start of the challenge all the way to the end, and do every single step of the process. And by targeting a small micro niche, there'll be no holdups, no delays, there's not much competition. You'll literally be able to take action every single day of the challenge, and ultimately, at the end of it, earn your very first dollar online. And the cool thing is, you know, you'll be able to take the skills you've just learned and then apply them to a much larger niche later on down the line. And Ed and I use exactly the same techniques we're teaching you in the challenge this year to basically, you know, start off all our own niche businesses. So valuable lessons. And, you know, by targeting micro niches, you'll be able to see the whole process. Now, let me tell you, give you an idea what I define micro niche as. If you take something like a topic such as like shopping, it's obviously huge, it's not a niche. You know, you can have buy cars and sporting goods and fashion. I mean, it's just such a broad ranging topic that, you know, it's not a niche. So what we do is we break that down and then we'll say take fashion. Now, fashion again is pretty huge. It's a big topic. You know, it's got bags and clothing and jewelry and shoes and so on, and it's just like way too big a niche. But taking that one step further, we can take fashion and go, okay, designer clothing or designer handbags, and you know, by definition, they are niches. There's plenty of sites out there which just focus on selling designer handbags or designer jeans or designer clothing, and you know, we're getting down to a niche level now. And what we really need to do for this year's challenge, though, is look further into that niche, look down into that niche and see what individual segments of it you can actually target. So in, you know, designer fashion, designer clothing, we could take, you know, particular designers as an example of targeting a micro niche. So maybe it's Jimmy Choo or Alexander McQueen. And, you know, we're getting really narrower down there. So it's much more smaller, much more segmented, and, you know, it's a really tightly focused niche. Now, if we take, say, somebody like Alexander McQueen, he's a fashion designer, but he also does a range of items. You know, does bags and clothing and scarves and so on. So what I'd really like you guys to focus on this year is really looking for a niche in the micro level. So again, not fashion, not designer clothing, going down to the designer level, and then ultimately maybe just targeting a couple of the items in that level. So for Alexander McQueen, I know he makes scarves, skull and crossbones scarves, so I'd target Alexander McQueen scarves. And that way, by reducing it all the way down to that level, you can be really tightly focused on, you know, on that product, on what you're offering, and ultimately that's going to give you guys the best chance of success for this year. And more importantly, you get to see the whole 30-day challenge process all the way through. Now, I want you guys to go and watch the rest of the videos for today. I'm going to go take you through some of the websites, and again, take a look at the PDFs I've prepared, have a read through those, and maybe they'll get you brainstorming a little bit. So enjoy the challenge. This won't be my last video. You'll see me plenty throughout the 30-day challenge. Take care, enjoy, and get started.